If you had to give any advice to somebody that like would be going down the same path that you did, like what would you tell them not to do or to avoid? I think you mentioned a couple of things right now, but anything else?
I would say some things to avoid is to understand what kind of business you want to create and work backwards from there. And then truly dive into, okay, if I want to start an XYZ company, let's say a nonprofit, what would this nonprofit look like? How could I build this nonprofit? And then work backwards. Well, who would I need to hire, right? How long would I need to keep them? Would this person just be someone that would be a contract worker, or would this be a co-founder, right? Start from like what your end all vision is and then work backwards, because then you're actually building out the starting blocks to where you need to go to get to the end vision.
For some people that may not have an app or a company, they're speaking about themselves, they're selling themselves.
Yeah.
Any advice?
I would say stay humble. The process of building a company or an idea, be as humble as possible, but articulate what you're looking to do and be receptive to feedback.
Yeah.
You know, the way I talk about Crave It right now is completely different than the way I talked about it in 2015. And that's because I've been open to feedback. Feedback is a gift. Sometimes it's hard to receive, but it is in your best interest to listen and to see where you can improve, because ultimately if you're improving as a professional, but you're also improving your brand and also what you're working on as well. Yeah. So it's a threefold.
What your weekly routine looked like, or the things that you had to avoid in order to commit that time to Crave It, habits that you built throughout that process.
Yeah, habits, I would say constantly networking and being open to meeting new people, because that's how you expand your horizon, but also truly get an understanding of what you're trying to do. And if you network a lot and you have good conversations, you're going to get a larger network, because they're going to whoever you're meeting with is going to open you up to their network as well. Another big piece of routine is working out, and that helps with stress management. It also helps with clearing my mind. Another piece is saying no. If you're working on something, truly work on it. Like, don't go for that drink. Don't go to that birthday party. I know it's not like the most glamorous thing to say, but you have to cut back on social pieces in your life to buckle down and do what you need to do. Of course, you can have a social life, but if you're building something, you need that space to dive 100% into that, or as much as you can, especially if you have a full-time job, to move forward. Because if you don't, time waits for no one. Yeah. And the less time that you spend on something, you'll look back and be like, where did those 6 months go? I haven't really accomplished anything.
Yeah.
And for those listeners out there, as well as myself, like, that was the scariest thing for me. Like, where am I going to be in a year? Am I still going to be in the same position I was a year ago? Yeah. That was sort of the fuel to the fire that kept me going.
That got you going.
Yeah.
Walk us through what it's like to be an entrepreneur.
At times it can be lonely. I think you have to have this lonely management system where you have to make sure that you are balancing seeing friends, loved ones into your day or week, because you get so bogged down with everything you have to do, all of your accomplishments, and you could go through periods of time, days, weeks, and not talk to people and get into this cycle because you're just so excited about work. But that also sort of leads to the burnout too, because you're only thinking about that 24/7. That way your brain doesn't have a time to A, digest what's going on, but B, to reflect or C, to like think about something else and have a better perspective when you come back. But I definitely believe that it can be lonely, and it's up to the entrepreneur. Again, everything comes back to time management, to be able to see that it might be happening and to address it. Because if you don't address it, then it's something that's going to continuously be lonely.
What are some of the skills that you feel have been most valuable to you as a CEO, founder, entrepreneur, grown throughout your career, in the day-to-day of what you do now? What do you think is the number one skill that you appreciate most that you have now, or that you're working on?
Perseverance. Yeah, that's the number one thing, is trying to see it through. Because I mean, if you think about the journey, right? I came up with this idea in April 2014. How many people are still working on an idea they came up with 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, the reason that I've gotten to where I am is because I'm continuously trying to move forward. Right?
Small bites.
Small bites. Yeah, small bites. It doesn't happen overnight. All of this press that says startups just blow up overnight, they don't. We just talked about how much it takes to ship a product. That stuff happens in the background. And I would say the other thing that I'm constantly working on is listening to other people and understanding what makes them tick.
Why are you passionate about food? Why are you passionate about starting a food app? Why did you create a food app and not any other app in the world?
Yeah, the reason I'm passionate about food is just because it's something that can break any sort of barrier. If you sit down with someone and have a meal, you can truly understand their culture, who they are. It's not malicious. And it gives people a better perspective on the world and cultures, and it makes people more appreciative of people in general. And I also don't like to have a bad meal. So if I can help people always have good meals, then that's a win, right?
Yeah, everybody loves that.
Yeah. So that's sort of why. And like, food is just, it's timeless, and we need to eat food.
Yeah.
We'll die if we don't. So
yeah, food is key for building community with others. So
huge.
Like, how do you upkeep the spirit?
I think the biggest motivator is internally making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And changing the way people think about and find food. And if I can do that, then I'm really, really happy. It's not, hey, I need to build the biggest company, I need to make all of this money. Like, the true joy is just seeing people's smiles on their faces, or getting gratification for something that I've done. So that ultimately kept me going and keeps me going. The other piece is, what if I don't do this? What is my life going to look like? What's it going to be like? Am I going to regret not doing this? And the answer is yes.